I don't have to make it rain, but I could argue with a proven view. You know, we haven't even said hello yet.
You guys know I'm a regular concert goer, but if you live in the Midwest, you have to accept a few certain facts, and that is that bands do not want to come to the Midwest in the middle of winter. They don't want to be places where they could get stuck in snow, where it's freezing cold, and where there's a chance that maybe people aren't going to come because they're just going to be like, F it, I'm just going to stay inside. Usually that's the way it is where I live here in Omaha, but I have to say that so far, this winter concert season has been pretty good.
Pretty good.
Let's get into a discussion of what I'm calling my 7-day weekend.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-day weekend.
Okay, the first show we're going to talk about is Porno For Pyros at the Astro. This was my first time ever seeing Porno For Pyros. I've talked about Jane's Addiction in a number of videos. I love that band from day one. But when they broke up and they split in half and two of the guys went and made Porno For Pyros, Stephen Perkins and Perry Farrell, I liked it, but I actually never saw them back in the day. And they broke up after 2 records. Jane's Addiction got back together, and he kind of thought, well, that's the end of that, right? I mean, flash forward to 2024, and Porno For Pyros is doing their farewell tour. Now, as I've talked about in other videos, is it really ever a farewell tour when a band says it's a farewell tour? I mean, it may be for this case for Porno For Pyros, but we'll get to that maybe in a second. So I was super excited to get to see this band because, like I said, I do like the records. I mean, I never felt as strongly about Porno For Pyros as I did about Jane's Addiction, but you know, that's like saying, okay, I didn't like Wings as much as I like the Beatles. I mean, you know, the one is like this upper echelon, and then no matter how good a second one is, they're never going to quite be that top band. And that's kind of the way I look at it. This particular tour, Mike Watt was playing bass for them, and that was really the icing on the cake. I was going to go no matter what, but the fact that Watt, one of my musical idols, I've talked about him in a million other videos here, was going to be playing bass on this tour, meant I had 100% to go. No way I could miss it. So I got invited to go up in the owner's box for this particular show. So sitting up on the side, it was like primo spot, you know, right on the side of the stage. And I watched the opening act, Tiger Cub, from there. Tiger Cub's a UK band. I was completely unfamiliar with them. The lead singer guitar player, they're from the UK. The lead singer guitar player is 7 feet tall. And I saw him backstage, and he is legit 7 feet tall. I mean, I kind of questioned him to his face. I was like, I don't know. I've been to NBA games, and I've seen how big those basketball players are. You don't seem quite that tall, but he offered to get a tape measure. I declined. Was pretty great. I tend to like it when it rocks a little bit more, but you know, the thing about Porno For Pyros is they're a little bit mellower than Jane's Addiction. They kind of meander a little bit. They're a little more chill. That's the vibe of Porno For Pyros. Perry was introducing the band, and he's like, "Do you guys know who Mike Watt is?" You know, and everyone cheered. And he's like, "You know, Mike Watt used to play with the Stooges." You know, and he's like, and he talked about how Jane's Addiction's first tour was opening for Iggy Pop, and how Iggy wouldn't talk to them and stuff. But after talking about that, then they bust into I Gotta Write, which is a great Iggy song that I knew Jane's Addiction had done before, but I didn't know Porno For Pyros had done before. It was great. Next show was the return of Yo La Tengo. Now, I've seen these guys a couple of times, probably about 4 or 5 times, but this is the first time in over a decade, and Ira Kaplan even pointed out when they got there, it was the first time in 11 years that they had played in Omaha. And the whole thing is like an evening with Yo La Tengo, so there was no openers. The band was just going to do 2 sets, and the way it was explained to me was they were going to come on and do a quieter set, and then take about 15 minutes off, and then come back and do a sort of louder set. Now, if you're familiar with Yo La Tengo's music, you know that sometimes a song can start off really quiet and can get really loud. So it wasn't exactly super strict. Like, some of the songs in the first set were kind of loud, and then some of the songs in the second set were kind of mellow. But if you love Yo La Tengo, it's like you just don't really care, you know? With 2 full sets and no openers, Yo La Tengo was able to play pretty much anything that you would want to hear, at least. I mean, I can't think of right off the top of my head of any songs that I would have missed. Now, what I would have liked, honestly, and this would have been more appropriate for last year, but last year was the 30th anniversary of their album Painful. Painful is my favorite album by Yo La Tengo. Maybe they could have done a set. A lot of bands are doing this kind of thing where they come out and they do the Painful album and then come out and do a second set and do hits. Suggestion: maybe next year, when it's the 30th anniversary of Electro Pura, they could try that. I've already done an entire video on Matthew Sweet and the Matthew Sweet concerts. I'm going to refer you to that video for a little bit more detail, but we'll give you the cliff notes here. It was great. Matthew Sweet was just doing a brief, like 6 or 7 day tour just to kind of get his sea legs, his first shows since COVID. Particular tour, he had Debbie Peterson of the Bangles playing drums for him, and that was, I mean, I was already going to go, but that was the extra icing on the cake, and I decided that I was going to manifest it, that I was going to meet Debbie Peterson, get a picture, and get her to sign some of my Bangles records. Yep, it happened. I did get to meet Debbie. I did get my record signed. It was all in all a great night. I just did see that Matthew Sweet's got some more touring dates coming up. Longtime viewers of my channel know that I've been talking about this guy David Nance for a long time. I have videos on him going back, or with him in them, going all the way back to 2016. And David Nance lives in my hometown here in Omaha, and but he records now for the Third Man label, and he's just released this album, David Nance and Mowed Sound, on Third Man. Now, vinyl community members, take note. You see there is Derek. That's Derek Higgins from, you know him from the vinyl community, from Derek's channel. He plays on the record, and he is in the band when they play in Omaha. So this particular show was the record release show for that David Nance and Mowed Sound record, and they did it at the Reverb. And usually Nance draws a good crowd. This was probably the biggest crowd that I've seen him do for a headline show at Reverb before. It was great. Opening act was a group, local band that I'd never heard of before, but they were really cool. They were called Pagan Athletes. They're a duo. It was a drummer and a keyboardist, and they were just kind of wild and avant-garde and pretty crazy. And like, I don't really know how to describe their sound other than wild and avant-garde and pretty crazy. Was super tight. They played most, a lot of the cuts off the new record, some other sort of Nance stuff, maybe some newer stuff that I wasn't familiar with, I'm not sure. But when it came to playing the song Credit Line, which is the music video off of the new album, Nance didn't sing it. He had the woman in the band sing the song, which was, I thought, kind of strange. It was cool, but I mean, it was pretty odd. Great David Nance set. I'm going to be doing a review of this album here pretty soon, so we will be talking more about David Nance and Mowed Sound. Okay, and the last concert I'm going to talk about is Living Color at Barnato. I did an entire video on this, so I'm going to link that below, refer you to that. Cliff Notes, Living Color still has it. They are fucking amazing. And this was the fourth time I determined that I saw them, and it was probably the best of all of the four times. And I'm talking about seeing them in 1989, seeing them in 1991, and seeing them now, and they're better now than they were even back then. It was absolutely incredible. Opening act was a band that in the other video I said they were from St. Louis. They're actually from St. Joseph, so they're from St. Joe, Missouri, a trio of brothers. And I've seen Radke before, but they were much better this time than the previous time. And they were good before, but they were much better this second time. All right, so there you go. That was my 7-day weekend. It kind of went by like a whirlwind. And let me tell you, let me ask you something, okay? How many 53-year-olds do you know go to 5 shows in 7 days? That's right, just this guy. That's it. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Take care.
So, you have a MySpace page or something?